Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charlie Landon. I'm the founder of Best Agent and also the presenter of the Moving Home with Charlie channel, which is mover advice, mostly on YouTube and TikTok. And we're live streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and also on TikTok, just for my estate agent followers on my TikTok channel. Everyone's welcome. If other people are watching this as well, that's great. Everyone's welcome. But in this video, I am talking exclusively to estate agents. I'm going to allow comments to be made in a minute, not just yet, actually. So let me get straight into this. I take very seriously when anyone suggests that what I'm saying or doing might be contributing to people's anxiety or mental health. Now, it doesn't matter whether you think they're sissies or snowflakes or not. I just don't want to be responsible for upsetting anybody ever. I don't want to. It's just a personal choice of mine. I don't like upsetting people. But the purpose of this video is to point out why I think what I'm doing is exactly the opposite of scaremongering, doom-mongering, naysaying, being negative. I think what I'm doing is exactly the opposite. Now, what have I been doing? On my Moving Home with Charlie channel, I have been saying since February that I suspected house prices were going to fall this year. And then in May this year, on the Best Agent YouTube channel, I did a breakfast show live stream on the 19th of May saying, early warning sounding, I am predicting a house price crash later this year. And nobody listened to me. I was just ignored by most agents. We're now in, and I will go on to explain why I believe that we are now in the full throes of the beginning of a house price crash. And I'll explain in terms that agents, I think, would like to hear as to why this isn't an opinion, but an almost certain mathematical fact. And if it is a fact, wouldn't you rather know and be prepared than be blindsided by it? Okay. Now, I'd also like to point out that I've had some very supportive agents actually telling me that they think that the content I'm putting out is extremely healthy. Not nice to hear, but healthy nonetheless. And I want to give you an example of what I would call a forward-thinking agent. Okay, so just this morning, there is a chap called James White, who is the MD at the Belong Estate Agency Group. And in a post this morning on LinkedIn, he said, in preparation for a harder market, I thinned our cost base 6 months ago. Right? So 6 months ago, James saw the early warning signs that at the time I was also seeing that the market was changing. And he's an agent at the coalface in his area. I don't have coalface access in an area like that, but I've got sort of wider coverage. And the reason that in May, which is about 4 or 5 months ago, I called the alarm bell saying there's going to be a house price crash is because I could see the data was trending that way. It wasn't some opinion. I didn't make it up. I wasn't saying it for fun. I wasn't saying it for attention. I was saying it because that's genuinely what my experience has led me to believe. Now, for those who don't know, my experience is actually 3 years in the money markets in the city at the beginning of my career, and then 25 years in estate agency, with a few years in between running a car wash. We'll talk about that another time. So I've had people saying that I have a doom-mongering agenda. I don't know what that means. I don't know why anyone would say I've got a doom-mongering agenda. So this is the way I see it, right? Let's just consider the possibility that somebody's, okay, there are estate agents who are very, very worried about this as well as movers, okay? And let me ask anyone watching this question. If something very bad was likely to happen to you in the near future, likely, not certain, but likely to happen to you in the near future, would you want to know about it and be prepared? Or would you rather just be blindsided by if it happened? Right? I haven't heard anyone say, just, not know about it. And if it hits me, it hits me. I haven't had anybody say that. I've had every single person I've asked that question has said, yeah, even if there's a chance of something really bad happening, I'd like to know about it. Right? Well, that's the service I am trying to provide. And nothing, so the people accusing me of doom mongering and naysaying haven't actually given any example of something that I've said that has turned out to not be true so far, although there are predictions I've made that have not yet had time to play out. But I'm, if it is the case that anything that I'm saying is very negative and has turned out to be wrong or unfounded, you tell me what to apologize for it. I will record a video apologizing for it. Okay? But unless your accusation of me being a naysayer or a doommonger or too negative includes an example of something I've said that is too negative or doommongering, then I'm sorry, I'm going to knock it back to you and say, you're just putting your head in the sand. That's a normal, natural reaction from people who don't know what's going on. The problem is, it's one thing for movers to not know what's going on in the market because it's not their job to know what's going on in the market. But if you're an estate agent and you are advising people on the move, then it is your job to know what's going on in the market. And that involves a little bit more than just what's happening in the local market, what's happening in the wider economy that might affect your clients and your business. Now, today, I now want to put a little bit of evidence and information behind why I've been saying house prices were going to fall. I mean, in the last week, what's happened has actually even surprised me, and it's happened a lot faster. And in the last day or two, I have now been predicting house price falls of, on average, 35% from the peak house prices once this house price fall and slide has finished in whatever it's going to take, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long it takes. I'm saying that from top to bottom now, unless something big changes, it's going to be about a 35% slide, roughly, average, right? Some places may only be 15% because they're just less affected by it. Some places could be 50%, okay? But roughly speaking, market-wide as a whole, I'm calling it at 35%. I will be happy to be wrong. Now, why am I saying that? What's my view on that? Where's my evidence to back up that theory, if you like, or that prediction? As most estate agents know, but not all, the entire property market is underpinned by the non-stop supply of first-time buyers, right? And most first-time buyers require a mortgage, and quite a big mortgage, okay? 80-90% mortgage, 95% mortgage, some of them, okay? And although all of those first-time buyers that have been this demand in the last few years are still there, their ability to fund their desired purchase has just pretty much evaporated for people who are looking to start now applying for a mortgage, right, at the moment. Now, why is that the case? Why is Money Facts, which is the most respected organization that reports on the mortgage industry, why is Money Facts reporting the fact that 1,000 mortgage products have been withdrawn from the shelves this week? Okay. They're reporting that. So why have all these, and in fact, the big brands, Santander, Halifax, Virgin, they've all been saying, yeah, we've taken a lot of these products off the shelf. So there's the proof, right? That first-time buyers needing mortgages have now got far fewer mortgage products to choose from, making it harder for them to get a mortgage offer and a mortgage with which to buy. Why have the banks taken that off the shelf? It is because of the uncertainty in the money markets, specifically the uncertainty around interest rates, specifically the uncertainty around the Bank of England base rate, which there is swirling speculation about what it's going to be, and specifically about the UK bond market. Okay, so the banks, the lenders who have to provide mortgage products with some stability and certainty around what the interest rate is, first of all, need to know what the money markets are doing. And when the money markets are stable, they've got a reasonably reliable prediction of what bank base rates are going to be, and that allows them to lend. So at the moment, as the day I'm recording this, which is Thursday, the 29th of September, a large chunk of mortgage products were taken off the shelf. Now, when are they going to come back on the shelf? Nobody knows. They're not back on the shelf yet, according to the reports today. And until they do, what you've got is a housing market where, okay, at higher levels, where there are larger deposits involved and transactions where it's 50% equity, 50% mortgage, those are going to be less affected. They're still going to happen, and maybe the prices will vary less at that level. But at the mainstream level of the market, where the majority of transactions happen, you're just seeing a sort of temporary suspension of the supply of new movers, unless they are cash buyers, of course, because cash buyers will be now looking for bargains. But the first-time buyer market has effectively been suspended. Right? For new first-time buyers, it's been suspended. Okay, so how does this translate into what I'm saying is potentially these big price falls? Well, the pipelines of estate agents. So there's also another thing happening, as well as first-time buyers having access to finance suspended, significantly suspended. A lot of people who are in transactions and have got agreed deals are pulling out for various reasons. Not all of them. Some of them are going ahead. And for the record, agents watching this, I am getting non-stop throughout the day, every day, buyers saying to me, I'm in a transaction, I'm close to exchange, should I pull out or not? Should I buy the property or not? And I am advising them to go ahead and buy the home if they're buying a home to live in and they want to stay there for at least 5 years and they can afford the mortgage for 5 years and they don't need to sell within that time. I'm saying go ahead and buy despite the market conditions, because having a home is more important than saving some money on the purchase. Okay, so I am not trying to scare people off from buying. I never have done that. But people who need to buy and then want to sell in 2 years' time, I'm saying to them, well, no, now's the time I would not do that. I just wouldn't, because you may not be, at the moment, it might be very, very difficult to sell 2 years from now if you've got a 90% mortgage and the house prices fall by more than 10% in that time. So how steep the house price slide is, in my opinion, is linked directly to how long this hiatus lasts of turmoil in the money markets and uncertainty in the money markets. Okay? It is not estate agents' fault in any way that this is happening. I'm sorry, it's not. People try to want to blame estate agents for the fact that house prices are so high, and that's just rubbish. Okay? Because estate agents don't set house prices, they don't set transactions prices. The lenders do that mostly with their mortgage surveys. And estate agents' job is to get the maximum possible value for your house when you're selling it. So don't blame them for doing their job well. If house prices go up, that's not estate agents' fault. That's a silly thing to think and a silly thing to say. Do they overvalue? Yes, and that's not helpful. But all that happens then is the property doesn't sell. So, overvaluing doesn't equal overinflated prices. The two things are not directly connected. So if we've got this hiatus with a suspension of a large number of mortgage products, mostly for first-time buyers, the market cannot continue functioning as normal, which is not only going to affect house prices, but also going to affect estate agency businesses. And I've had people contacting me saying that they are afraid for their jobs in estate agency, and I get that. I'm going to talk about that in another video, because it's a very, very delicate point. But the housing market cannot recover and resume normal levels of transactions until mortgages have resumed, mortgage product offerings have resumed, and mortgage companies are not going to resume normal product levels of 5,000, which is typical, rather than the 2,500 we've got at the moment, right? Until the money markets have subsided and stabilized and calmed down and reached a new sort of lower volatility level. And that's not going to happen until either the government releases the the information that it's saying it won't release until the 23rd of November. That's my last information. I don't know if that's changed. Or there is a change of leadership, so we have a new normal stability. And I cannot see either of those two things happening. Now, what could happen, which would be good news and would prove me wrong, is if the government decides to reveal what they're saying won't happen until the 23rd of November, doing it sooner. If they do that sooner, that will help somewhat. But until we know what they're going to reveal in terms of the OBRs, the forecast and that kind of stuff, we don't know what the money market reaction is going to be. So at the moment, I can't see how real stability, normal levels of stability in housing transactions can resume. I can't see how that can resume until at least January. Interest rates will be higher. That doesn't matter. It'll still resume its new normal. House prices might be lower. That doesn't matter. Transactions will still happen. People still need to move. But the prediction of house price falls is until there is stability in the markets, the money markets are punishing the government. And until that's stopped, that battle between government and money markets has stopped and settled and calmed down, mortgages won't resume. Until mortgages won't resume, housing transactions can't resume at normal levels. Okay, so for that reason, I think we're looking at a 90-day or thereabouts hiatus when there's going to be a substantial reduction and contraction in the number of housing transactions taking place. Now, how bad that is depends on what the government does in the next few weeks, and I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. I've got no idea. They're saying they're sticking by the budget and they're sticking by anything, and that's it. But in the next few months, we're looking at an increasing cost of living crisis. Heating bills go up next month, even with the £2,500 cap. So if you actually look at all the factors affecting the housing market now, including people's fear and uncertainty about the future, which is a major contributing factor to housing market sentiment, right? How do people feel? Are they confident about their job? No. Confidence in people holding them down their jobs is falling. Are they confident about the economy? No. Are we going into recession? Yes. What do these three things all do to house prices? Put downward pressure on them. And that's before you have money market turmoil. So let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that I'm right about this. Would you want to know this or not know this if you are an estate agent, right, whose business is affected by this? Would you want to know the explanation of how the government is linked to the money markets, is linked to the mortgage markets, is linked to the housing market, is linked to your transactions and your buyer levels of interest? Wouldn't you want to know that? And if so, what am I saying that's scaremongering? I'm simply reporting what's happening. I'm reporting the events that are happening in the mainstream news that anyone can see for themselves and explaining how that impacts the housing market. How is that scaremongering? I don't see it as that. I can't understand anyone running a business, an estate agency business, that wouldn't want to know this information. Either a lot of you already know it for yourselves, or you don't know it and you need to know it. Because if you are continuing running your estate agency business whilst having your head in the sand about what's happening in the wider economy and in the political landscape, there's going to be a really ugly ending. It's going to be a hard crash, because you're going to get blindsided by what's happening, and that is much worse than hearing negative predictions. All right. So what I'm doing on the Moving Home with Charlie channel is sharing information for anyone in the housing market, whether you're a mover or an agent, that you can take or leave and be better prepared. I know that the things that I'm saying are going to be very worrying for people who are estate agents, but I have been saying this for 6 months, right? Longer, in fact. And as that estate agent, James from the Belong Estate Agency, 6 months ago, he saw it coming. If you're an estate agent, that's what you should have been doing. It's not a question of forming an opinion. It's a question of just actually staying on top of what's happening. If you are in the business of selling people's homes for them and helping people move house and advising them on that transaction, how can you not need to be up to speed with what's happening in the wider economy? So here's my offer to any estate agent watching this who still thinks that I'm being a doom-monger, still thinks that I'm being a negative ninny, still thinks that I'm scaremongering, or thinks that anything I'm saying is bad for anyone's mental health. Tell me exactly what I've said that is any form of mongering, right? That is not backed up, because tell me what I've said that isn't based on actual events happening and available data, right? Tell me, because if anyone can give me an example of when I have said something negative that has not turned out to be true, I'll hold my hands up, I'll apologize, and I'll say sorry. Okay? And if anyone can convince me why it's better not to know the things that I'm sharing for your business or your clients, you tell me. You explain to me how it would be better to just no. I don't want to hear it. It's scaremongering. I'm just going to carry on as normal, and that's better for me and my customers. But you show me exactly how that plays out as better, and I'll listen. Okay, because I will change my mind and I will change what I'm saying if anyone can demonstrate to me, not just ram an opinion down my throat because they're unhappy or upset about what's happening, but actually demonstrate to me that what I'm saying is is not useful information, or what I'm saying is somehow making things worse for them. If you don't like the sound of what I'm saying, don't watch. Right? If it's simply a question of you can't cope with reality, and I get that that's real for some people, if you just can't cope with what's happening in the world, don't shoot the messenger, right? Just don't watch my stuff, and don't watch the mainstream news either. Don't watch any news, right? Just keep on telling yourself everything's okay if that's how you cope. I'm not being flippant. I mean it. I know there are people who literally get very badly triggered by what's happening in the news and in events, and rightly so. It is very worrying, right? But just don't watch my stuff. But I will stop if you can show me that anything I've said has been unsubstantiated. Okay, guys. So let's all keep our fingers crossed for both movers and agents' hope together. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that the government can restore calm in the money markets, and that the mortgage lenders come back to the market with mortgages that are affordable for first-time buyers, and that first-time buyers re-engage with the market, because there are lots of people out there who do want to buy homes. Now, does anybody have questions? Hi, Preacher Cal. I don't think we've met. Are you an estate agent or a mover? Can I ask you that question before I answer your question? And have I got any estate agents following me on the TikTok live stream? Have you got questions? Yeah. So the question I've got here is, how will the new money printing from the Bank of England affect the mortgage market, as there will be more money in circulation again? Okay, so the money printing that happened yesterday, okay, they're not actually literally physically printing money. It is a populist term used to describe the Bank of England pumping money back into the system, into the money markets. And the way they do that is by buying government bonds from the market. Okay, so they're putting their cash into the financial institutions so that those guys can keep lending. They don't actually print money. So what they did yesterday was not so much put more money in circulation as to just try and stop the collapse of pension funds. Right? £65 billion of government bonds was bought by the Bank of England yesterday at the request of pension funds, who said that if the Bank of England didn't prop up the prices of government bonds, then the pension funds were going to have no choice but to sell them, and that would have triggered a downward spiral. So yesterday, it's quite possible that the Bank of England narrowly averted a real financial crisis in the pensions market. Having said that, the money printing that they're doing is the opposite of the policy they're trying to follow now, which is unprinting money, or selling their government bonds back into the open market. And therefore, that is an inflationary effect. So what will that have on the mortgage market? If inflation continues to have upward pressure on it, that means we're going to be looking at higher interest rates for longer. So that's the effect on the mortgage market, is that higher interest rates for longer. Okay, so when the Bank of England, now that we are in an inflationary environment, which we weren't a few years ago, when the Bank of England was printing money back then, it didn't matter. But now that we are in a high inflation environment, printing money only makes that worse, and therefore will only increase the interest rates in the mortgage market. But mortgages will always be there. They just might be at high interest rates, provided the money markets are calm. I hope that answers your question. Any estate agents, hoopy days. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm glad you found my content helpful. If there are any estate agents watching on TikTok who have a question, please send it to me. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap that up now. Thank you for watching, those of you who did. If you are an estate agent watching this and you're worried, please send me a private message. And if I can help, I will. I would love to help. And if you've got any feedback for me on this video as well, you want to send privately, please do on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Thank you, guys. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.